I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. A MAGA Republican group that calls itself the Brown County Taxpayers Association, but in reality is this AstroTurf group run by these MAGA extremist lawyers. They previously lost in the district court in their efforts trying to overturn and stop President Biden from implementing his student loan forgiveness program. Well, they've now just filed a petition to the United States Supreme Court on an emergency basis, seeking an emergency application for writ of injunction pending appeal to try to stop President Biden from implementing the student loan debt forgiveness program before it comes into effect. Just think about how dastardly and despicable and cruel these groups are, and the amount of millions of dollars that MAGA Republicans are and rich donors, the billionaire class, is putting into these lawsuits to try to derail something that is just going to help hard-working Americans. You know, the majority of people who are going to get relief earn less than $75,000. And you think about it. I'm going to break down. Don't worry, I'm going to do my legal breakdown, but just give me one more second to vent for a second. You think about it. Under Donald Trump, they run up the deficit by like $7.5 trillion by giving billionaires tax cuts and giving billionaires all these perks like extra write-offs for private jets and yachts and all of that. The most economically irresponsible thing to do. And groups like the Brown County Taxpayers Association, oh, they're cool with that when Republicans just run up the deficit and destroy our economy. Under President Biden, the deficit has decreased by trillions of dollars, and targeted programs like the student debt relief program that helps hardworking Americans, mostly people making less than $75,000, so that they could actually participate in the economy. That's where the MAGA Republicans and the Republican billionaire class go, oh, no, 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 no. How dare regular Americans get discounts? Let me just tell you about this emergency application that this group filed. You may recall we previously covered the lawsuit that they filed. I think they filed it about a month ago. They filed it on a Tuesday in the district court. I believe it was in the Eastern District of Wisconsin, Green Bay Division. And they said, oh, we're a bunch of taxpayers, and somehow Biden's student debt relief program hurts us as taxpayers. It's going to increase our taxes, and so we feel that we're harmed by this. One of the other dastardly things they focused on, one of the counts, they made an equal protection clause argument and basically said that because the student debt relief program by Biden also aimed to address racial systemic inequities in our way student loans were previously administered, because it tried to create a more equitable and equal society, that attempt by Biden to reduce systemic inequities, racial inequities in the way student loans were distributed in the past and allocated in the past, that was racist and a violation of the equal protection clause of these taxpayers, that they feel their rights were violated and that their equal protection clause rights were violated. Anyway, the federal court, the district court judge, threw this case out in like 3 days. I think it was filed on Tuesday. By Friday, the judge threw it out. And the main thing the judge relied on is that there is no general standing for taxpayers to sue in this case. There is no general taxpayer injury. The plaintiffs did not assert any injury to them, and if they don't want to get the student debt relief, then don't apply to the program. But why are you trying to destroy other people's lives? So the district court rejected it and dismissed the claims, like literally within 3 days. And this has not even been heard by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals yet, which would be the court that this would normally be appealed to. But this group, the Brown County Taxpayers Association, talk about privilege here. They go right to the Supreme Court and they file an emergency application to Amy Coney Barrett, who's the Associate Supreme Court Justice for this Supreme Court, who's designated as the circuit court justice for the 7th Circuit Court of Appeal, which is where the Wisconsin District Court is based. So we got our MeidasTouch legal degree learning. So I'll give you an example. So you remember with respect to when Donald Trump filed the emergency application with the Supreme Court, seeking an application to vacate what the 11th Circuit did. So the 11th Circuit there was the Circuit Court of Appeals, the Court of Appeals that was responsible for Florida and a number of other states. So when the district courts reach decisions and those decisions are appealed in Florida and other states that are within the 11th Circuit, like another state within the 11th Circuit is Georgia, for example, those go to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. And then there is a Supreme Court judge who oversees that Circuit Court of Appeals to hear emergency applications to the Supreme Court to, in very extraordinary circumstances, basically stop a appeals court from doing something or stop something on an emergency basis. But certain extraordinary factors have to be met. And so you remember in the Mar-a-Lago case, who was the circuit court supervising judge from the Supreme Court? It was Clarence Thomas. Remember, based on the prior videos that I did, Clarence Thomas, in a situation where there's an emergency application. Sometimes these emergency applications, you may have heard the term shadow docket. It's referred to as the shadow docket because it's not the full oral argument before the Supreme Court, which is called granting certiorari, where the Supreme Court grants certiorari and a full oral argument is heard. And so when you do these emergency applications, the Supreme Court judge who supervises the circuit can rule themselves and make an emergency order. They could refer it out to the full Supreme Court to make an order. They could just deny it. And even if they made the decision on their own, that Supreme Court decision's emergency order is revisable by the entire rest of the Supreme Court, who could eventually intervene and go, what the heck did you just do? So with respect to the Mar-a-Lago search, Clarence Thomas referred the matter to the entire court, and the entire court declined to hear Donald Trump's application to vacate the 11th Circuit, giving the 100 classified records back. So why am I mentioning that? Just to give you the context here. So in this case, this is an emergency application that was filed here. This Brown County Taxpayers Association, they haven't even filed. They haven't even gone to the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. They went right to the Supreme Court and said, we need you to intervene immediately, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, because this program by Biden's about to take into effect, and we want to destroy the lives of students who are going to benefit and destroy the lives of workers who are burdened by this debt. And so please intervene. And so Amy Coney Barrett, the same way Clarence Thomas supervised the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, Amy Coney Barrett supervises the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. So this application is addressed to Amy Coney Barrett. And then the factors that Amy Coney Barrett has to evaluate is, the first factor is, would the court grant certiorari on this issue? So is this the type of case that the court would normally grant to hear an overall oral argument on? Was the ruling by the lower courts, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, or I guess the district court here, was it demonstrably wrong? And then you have to show that they just completely used the wrong law. And then finally, would there be irreparable harm to the group that's seeking the relief, to the plaintiff or to the party seeking the relief there? And clearly, on all of those factors, I think that even Justice Amy Coney Barrett is going to swiftly reject this. So I wouldn't be shocked if this application is rejected within, literally when I put the video out, if within an hour or 24 hours it gets rejected. But I think that this application gets nowhere. It's legally defective. The 7th Circuit Court of Appeals hasn't even made its ruling yet. There's no general taxpayer standing here. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, I think, is just going to deny it herself. I'm not even sure she's going to, I don't think she'll refer it to the full court. And this is going to be rejected, and this Brown County Taxpayer Association group is going to lose. I want to reflect on one thing, though, briefly as well. With such an absurd filing like this, Justice Amy Coney Barrett, one of the problems is she's going to deny this. Of course, it's good. That's a good thing she's going to deny it. But it's such a horrible legal document. I mean, look, it looks all fancy when you see it, and it looks like, the font, and how long was it? It's 30 pages, and it's got an appendix, but it's a real stupid filing. Like, let's just call it for what it is. Like, it is a dumb legal argument. It is a bad legal argument. It is cruel. The Supreme Court will not touch this. This should not be brought to them on an emergency basis. So when Justice Amy Coney Barrett denies it, I think one of the problems is people will go, oh, look, she's so reasonable here. Look how reasonable she was. I thought that she was this extremist justice, but look, she's being very, very, very reasonable here. I don't want to be lured into that logical trap there by her rejecting this ridiculous filing. Does not make her reasonable. It just makes this filing really, really, really bad. And she still has a number of rulings that are really, really, really bad. The horrible rulings out there and extremist rulings. So anyway, that's how I reflect on her overall order. But we'll see what happens with this, and I will keep you updated, of course. For now, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hey, hit the subscribe button right now. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers with your support. If you watch these videos and you don't hit the subscribe button at the end, what are you doing? It's free to subscribe. It's free, and it helps grow this thing to 1 million subs. So hit the subscribe button right now. Share these videos with your friends. And also, if you want to help grow MeidasTouch Network, we're not funded by any outside investors at all. And I get emails from you all the time and DMs, and you're always saying, I really want to help grow the MeidasTouch Network. I really want to help grow it. What can I do, Ben, to help grow your network? And here's what you could do. It's your network too. That's the great thing about this. This network is a community. This network is powered by you and our democracy. So we're not funded by outside investors. If you want to help, go to Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Join there today. There's different membership tiers that you can join with exclusive behind-the-scenes content and other exclusive membership perks. They're great perks, but most importantly, you'll help grow this independent platform. And it'll be really, really helpful. So I would really appreciate it if you did it. patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Check it out. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
This November is Rowvember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rowvember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.MeidasTouch.com to grab yours. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.